G'day everybody, how was your week? Well, as we all know, last weekend, Furry Weekend Atlanta, that's the fourth largest furry convention in the world in Atlanta, Georgia, had their convention, and we have the results in. And it was pretty close to what was projected for this year in 2018. This year, I had projected that they would have 5,117 attendees, and they ended up having 5,193. Yeah, keep on growing, keep on going. Next year, they are projected to have 6,112 attendees. So, these attendees, like, most of them had a great time, I'm sure, and enjoyed their convention and their time at the convention. There were some minor ticks here and there that ended up on the social medias. One of them in particular that I recall was they introduced a new security procedure or item to their repertoire. Most furry conventions utilize badges that are handed out to attendees that they hang and they show security before they walk into places. Apparently Furry Weekend Atlanta had utilized wristbands and that had electronic scanners in it that they could scan going into and out of places, such as the furry dance parties and other such things. There's also some funny little stories, like I remember there was a propane convention in the same place, and they somehow, even despite that new security protocol, had snuck in there to dance. It's like the hidden episode of King of the Hill. It's like Hank Hill and partners dance with the furries. You know, I sell propane. Propane says, "Oh, Bobby, you know, that ain't right. This convention ain't right, Bobby. I don't know what's going on." Yep. Anyway, so, but there was also an issue with the bands, and that was, and this one became kind of infamous with like a little animated GIF thing. The bands would be underneath your fursuit, and like it was hard to scan them when you were wearing a fursuit. So you would have this issue where you're like, work, damn you, work. And then, so you had like a picture of the security lady with like this big old saber-toothed monstrous fursuit trying to get in, but they couldn't do it because just won't accept the card. So that's something that they want to try and add for next year. And it is one critique that they want to try to add to for next year. Maybe making sure that the security bands can fit around a larger wrist size, and to compensate for fursuits to have them wear it on the outside of the costume. It might seem kind of weird to have that. Hey, but if you make the theme like Biddle's Little Fur Con and having it be like that government thing all over again, you know what I mean? Like Orwellian style of the resistance or the Big Brother kind of style of thing. The security wristbands would work very well for that motif. Everyone would be in theme there because they'd be all wearing those security tags. But anyways, that's something that they're going to have to hash out for next year. And I'm happy to report that nothing else went wrong during the convention. Right? Yeah? No? Oh, don't make me talk about this. Okay, so we're going to level with you. On Friday night, actually it's not really Friday night, it's more like Saturday morning. It happened at 4 a.m., right? Yeah, like, have you ever noticed that? Like, this thing happened on Friday night, it's like, well, it's 4 a.m., it's actually Saturday morning. I'm not in bed yet, it's not Saturday morning until I go to bed. As soon as I go to bed, it becomes morning. It's magic. It's magical. It's like, whee! It's like, as soon as I go to bed, now it's morning. It's like, no, it's morning, even if you refuse to go to bed. The morning doesn't wait on you to go to sleep. This isn't a video game, okay? That's how the world works. It doesn't revolve around you. You revolve around it. Every 24 hours. Anyways, so, I'm avoiding talking about this. You can tell. I'm stalling, okay? I understand I'm stalling. But here's the point. At 4 a.m. on Saturday, something occurred in the lobby with two people in pup gear that was captured on camera by an individual, and I'll put a link to the tweet below for where basically the tweet that came out to discuss or to show the 30-second video that showed these two pups in a very compromising position. And of course, but you know, furry Twitter, it behaved very rationally. Asked us, like, do we have the full context of the situation? Were they naked? Were they fully clothed? Did you show this to security? You know, very rational, very calm, very collected. And no, I wouldn't be fully accurate, I suppose. There were concerns, and the concerns about this issue stem from recent furry convention closures that have occurred in recent years. Most infamously, the Rainforest closing of 2015, which, to be fair, was a larger convention. Even though you think it's like, well, the larger convention will shield it from these, you know, weird off things that happen with attendees. You know, Rainforest was a very populous convention, and it still lost its thing. Now, Rainforest has gone on record noting that it wasn't kinksters or anything that got the hotel in trouble, or any romping that occurred in the lobby at 4 a.m. It was more an issue of basically hotel not security, but just like the hotel wasn't happy with all the vandalism that was going on at the convention. Apparently the furries were being very vandalous of that particular convention space. And so it seemed like the hotel relationship with the convention itself seemed to go sour and everything else. And you know, the people at the staff there, I think they said, we're taking responsibility for it because we should have addressed the concerns of the hotel. Anthrocon had to deal with similar concerns with hotel rooms being kept unclean. And so that's why in its terms of service and its what is it called? Its code of conduct is that you need to allow housekeeping staff in there each day. No exceptions. Don't leave the do not disturb thing hanging on its door all day. It's for the health and safety of people that they are allowed to clean their rooms every day. And that's a big stringent rule for Anthrocon. And that also came on the stem of, you know, vandalistic concerns of hotel space. And Kage's like, I'm not going to allow that crap to happen. I'm going to put it down here, plain as clear as crystal. You don't mess with the hotel. You mess with me. You can mess with me all you want. You don't mess with my hotels. No. Or their hotels, which are my hotels for the weekend. I'm using the royal me. Okay? My convention center, my thing. No, he's using the in a symbolic way. But lo and behold, like that's every, you know, it's a balance between letting, staffing these things is a freaking nightmare. You know, you have to balance your attendees' happiness with your hotel's happiness, with the city's happiness, with the local government's happiness. You have to juggle all these things while appearing that everything is normal. And trust me when I say this, that something like this probably occurs at said hotel even without the furries there. All right? You have to understand that the hotel really cares that if these kind of behaviors are an issue, that at least the people that are running the convention are concerned about it and will work with them to ensure that it doesn't happen again. That's the biggest thing that they're concerned about, especially since we're giving them a lot of money to be there. And if the staff doesn't show that concern, that's when hotel staff can get somewhat concerned themselves and then wonder about the business relationship. It's business. It's all right. It's a business. It's business is what I'm saying. It's a business. And if business is good, it's good. If it's no good, it's no good. Bad things happen at conventions all the time. The only thing is, the difference is that us normal guys don't know about it. Unless you go to like one of those horror convention stories panels that they have at certain conventions, you should go to one of those, and you should know that like bad things happen, and it can get pretty sour really quick. Now, despite the fears and things like that over the event, and the people being angry and vitriol over it because of those fears, because people when they feel that something dear to them is threatened, like a convention, they will get angry and they will get vicious, and that's just the nature of the beast, right? That's the nature of the beast of fear. But bless us furries that we understand how ridiculous this all is. So somebody had, so this guy here, name, Kodeo, his name, Kojo Coyote, did a picture of the fursuiter that happened to be walking by them at that particular time, and that their name is Cajun. Of course, I know their name. And they basically did the whole meme thing with it. So they're like the not in front of my salad meme, which, if for those of you who don't know what the meme is basically it's a joke about people getting a little too intimate in front of a person who doesn't want to have anything to do with them being too intimate with one another. And so like people posted jokies about that. And so, a little bit of humor, a little bit of memes, sort of makes the sourness of the situation go down a little easier. However, this is not where this ends, unfortunately. Because the world is a lot more complicated than things that it seemed to be. And instead of just letting the internet get angry and boisterous at their activities, the two individuals in question actually had recorded their own video about their what they call a romp, or what these two individuals were calling a romp. So that angle, and that 360, it's a 360 video. You can actually move the camera around and go wee. It's posted in the link in the description below, like with the tweet. But there's a very interesting. So I'm going to show you like a clip or the picture of like that same item at that angle. So this was around the same time at that angle. You're going to notice that yellow box I had happened to place at the very top of the screen there. That yellow box. That's my estimations as to where those guys were standing. And the guys who were recording them were standing. And so basically that's the angle that they were seeing them from. The reason I highlight this, I'll go into later. But as far as the pups go, you'll notice that they were in that sort of compromising position in that particular screenshot. But if you were to go to the video in the description below and watch them the whole time, you'll notice that they're only in that position for 30 seconds, which is about the length of the video of the guys up there. But the rest of the time they were behaving like dogs, but not necessarily sexually. And so I have to consider that position that they were in similarly was more pup play, romping than it was sexual, but then that gets into like little hairy situations. Let me make a full disclaimer here. I'm not a pup. I don't know anything about the pup community. I don't know too much about the pup community. I do know optics. I do know things like that. And personally, and this is my personal opinion, is that I think there's a difference between furry and pups, and it's one big difference. And I think that pups are more zoomorphic, whereas furries are more anthropomorphic. And this is my kind of critique, I suppose. But this is just personal opinion. I'm getting it off the plate so that I can make a full disclosure, so that I am putting aside something. I am putting aside that personal opinion when I'm going to go into some of this more deeply, and that is, like, I see that like when you're playing as pups in a leather gear and playing as actual puppies and romping, is that you are doing something that is considered zoomorphic. You are human beings, but you're acting like puppies. You are embodying and characterizing yourself as puppies. You are playing as puppies and understanding that, and letting go of any human cognition or understanding of the world around you. Whereas anthropomorphics, hey, I'm a kangaroo in a suit, but I'm not acting like a kangaroo. I'm not going, punch, punch, leaning back on my tail, punch, 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 punch. I'm not acting like that's more zoomorphic, right? Like when you act as the animal more than you do as the human cognition. So to me, that's a big distinction difference, and that's sort of why I think that there is sort of a contention between furry community and pup community, even irregardless of the situation at hand, is because of the different things that they sort of mean in connotation. Putting that aside, because that's irrelevant here, what I'm trying to do is find because here's the thing. My personal opinion about furry fandom and its dichotomy with the pup community is at odds with my understanding of media and wanting to see media grow as a medium and understanding that we all are now sort of the media. We love to go, the media says and the media does and the media is, but we are all now the media. We all have access to something. We all have the ability to publish our words on a world platform in an instant and change the world in an instant. And anybody can change the world around us with that platform. And therefore, knowing the weight of one's words and actions is more important today than it ever has been. So to me, I think that it's very important to educate people on how to be responsible as far as being a media person. That being said, so the issue at hand here seems to be that this position, that 30 seconds of the 4 minutes in that full video, that 360 video, was the thing that was focused on. And it was taken out of context, but yet that context was still damning. Because the people who were romping probably weren't thinking about, well, what in the grand scheme of things, what is this, in the grand scheme of things, how are people going to interpret what we're doing, right? Every moment of what we're doing. So when they romped, they got into a position where they were like this, right? They were on top. You saw it. I showed you the picture. So interestingly enough, when I was thinking about this, my mind went to the Lion King. Frickin' furry. What? Don't bring the Lion King into this. What are you? Okay, so what am I saying? So I've thought of the Lion King because the pin as a form of expression in animals and things like that really comes out in the Lion King. Like, cubs or pups play with each other, and they sometimes get into that pin position. And so what we're going to talk about here is, so when we have the Pinja scene after Just Can't Wait to Be King, right? This scene here, where she's like, ha, Pinja, hey, let me up. And then, Simba tries to pounce her again, and they roll down the hill, and then she pins him again and goes, Pinja again. And then the elephant graveyard scene shows up. This scene indicates an important narrative point, and that is, it's a very, very important narrative point in The Lion King because it establishes later on events, an identity of the characters, interactions, so that later on when they interact in a similar way that the dots connect for the characters involved. So the long and the short is that, yes, cubs and pups get into this position and they have no sexual identities with it at all because they're too young to understand, right? They're too young to understand any sexual connotations that any positions have, such as this. So when they were playing as pup play, they were probably thinking, oh, well, we're just playing as pups and stuff like that. But there's a problem here, and that is these two individuals that were in the hotel space are in fact grown adult men. They have pup gear on, they're playing the role of puppies, but they are grown adult men, so therefore they should understand the more, what we say is, an adult side of that particular position, which is introduced later in The Lion King. The same position that was enacted as playfulness and just romping, later on in The Lion King comes back. They roll down a literal hill, like, it's basically the same freaking scene. They roll down a hill, and I think Simba actually wins this time. I think that's the difference. I don't know what the connotations of that mean. But the context is a lot different. They're adults now. They're adult lions. And being in that position means something a little bit different than what you're trying to express. So when people see you in that position, they're going to see this because you're adults. They're not going to see the other thing because you're kids, right? Because you're playing as pups. So that's where this ambiguity and this messiness comes from. So, that being said, love is where they are. Ugh. Can you feel the love tonight? So, long of the short, when you are pup romping or pup playing, understand that you are conveying characters And when you're conveying characters, you need to understand that other people may not be in on the act. And if they're not in on the act, they're going to interpret your act in the way that they are seeing the thing. They are seeing two grown men in bodysuits romping around in a missionary position on the floor of a hotel space. And they are going to interpret it that way. They're going to interpret it as the adult Simba and Nala, not as the young Simba and Nala. So how do you convey to an audience that you are romping and wrestling without conveying sexuality? And it's actually quite simple, even though I've rambled on for like several minutes sort of explaining the backgrounds of it. Here's what you do. Parallel? No. Perpendicular? Yes. What do I mean by that? If you are tummy to tummy when you're wrestling and you are parallel, as in your faces are facing each other, or even the opposite, all right? Even if you're in this position and you're still parallel, people are going to see it as bad, okay? Or if you're in this position in parallel, people are going to see it as bad. Why? Because there's sexual connotations to that position. So even if you're belly to belly like this or like this, people are going to see it as bad. But if you're like this, belly to belly, where your mouth and your private parts are not flush with one another, they're kind of, you know, your mouth is up here, your mouth is down here, you can't do nothing. There's nothing sexual about this. We are literally wrestling, guys. We're in this position. And by the way, if you watch the video very closely, before they get into the compromising position, this is the position they're in. And then they shift to this one. And that's the one that's the problem. If they had stayed and maintained in this position, the people up there would have had no fuel to the fire. Everything would have been fine. So, pups out there, if you're doing a public romp, never this, always this, all right? I know I'm not part of your community, but that's just a suggestion to me. I understand optics and stuff like that. I understand optics and symbology and things like that. So just as a person who's studied animals and knows animals and studied humans and knows humans and human politics, you need to understand that you have to be aware of your optics. And most importantly, because you guys want to be part of our conventions too. And if like these kind of parallel incidents happen too much, and people get all worried, then they're going to have to start going, okay, we're going to ban the pup hoods. And, you know, because you and I both know, I've already seen the rumblings on Twitter from furries. It seems like they're gunning for you, right? It does feel that way sometimes. And I'm going to make an addendum to that right now because it seems like I'm lecturing you. But trust me, you're not the only one I'm going to be lecturing. So this is a long freaking video because there's a lot of freaking detail and a lot of freaking stuff to talk about. But just for your own safety and for the safety of public awareness and your understanding of things, just be aware that if you are in a public space and you want to romp, do it like this, all right? Or if you're going to get into a wrestled position, be belly to belly at a 90-degree angle, not an unparalleled angle, right? All right, so now that I've said that piece, we're going to go back a little bit. So remember that top-down view that I showed you here with them in that position? So as I mentioned to you, they were only in that sort of missionary position for about 30 seconds, which was about the length of the video that the guys up there in the yellow box had. Guess what I did? I watched that yellow box the entire time, and guess what? Those guys were there the entire time. So you know what that means. That means someone's pulling some stupid BS. And we're going to talk about that stupid BS right now. Furries have always criticized the media on focusing on a small section of the furry fandom. A small slice of the entirety of what we are. Yet in turn, a furry watching these two individuals from up top, from their angle, had a camera on these guys while they were romping. I don't know if it was they started recording, you know, before they got into that position, but I would like to guess so. It can't be coincidence that they just happened to turn on the camera like right when they got into that position. So they basically were cameraing them the entire time, and afterwards, and then later on decided, okay, we're going to cut this 30 seconds out and we're going to post this to social media. We're not going to contact the staff. We're not going to contact security. We're not going to contact the hotel. We're going to contact everybody on the planet freaking Earth about this situation. And only take that 30 seconds. Shame. It's a real damn shame. And I hate saying this, but it is something that's important, that we cannot criticize the media for pulling out little chunks and pieces to make people look bad, and at the same token, do that ourselves with our own social media. We are now the media. Irregardless of what we like to think and what we like to do, we are now the media. The whole world is watching when we post something onto the internet. Period. End of story. There is no reason that should have been posted public. It should have gone to the staff first. If there was a legitimate concern about their behavior and its effect on the convention, it should have gone to the staff first. Then the staff would have contacted those members and dealt with them in private, and then made a judgment call. Now it's everybody's time to judge. It's time for everyone to be the staff because everyone wants to be the decision maker. But we're not qualified. This jackass included. I've never staffed a convention. I've never volunteered at a convention. I'm not qualified to be making judgments about what to do about certain staff things. I would tell you what I would do here, though, or what I would be tempted to do if this happened at my convention, is I would say, okay, we're going to do this. You two pup people, here's what you do. Next time you want to romp on the things, learn about the perpendicular thing. But to be fair and to satisfy the bloodlust of the internet that has been created, we're going to suspend your thing for a year. You're going to be suspended from the convention for a year. Come back in 2020, okay? And you, jackass, there is a clause in our books that says we express the right to have you not take recordings of the media and then show it to the general public. Publish it, in essence. And if you don't come through us before you do that, then we can suspend you. In fact, there was a furry from frickin' Anthrocon who frickin' made a frickin' documentary about the furry fandom who got banned from life from that frickin' convention because, hey, he recorded some crap. And the staff at Anthrocon didn't like it, so they banned that effer for life. All right? That actually occurred. And that had nothing to do with pup plays and making the convention look bad. It was just him critiquing the frickin' convention chair. You know, it's like, since you did that, and since you recorded that and put it on things, you're no better than the Man Show. You're no better than the other people that come in here and try to hurt the fandom. And I'm being dead serious. We understand that you're trying to protect the fandom, that your fear of losing this convention space is what caused you to behave as you did. But your behavior is what led to other people finding out about this and it making a bigger stink than it could possibly need to be. So you also are suspended for a year. Thank you. Come back in 2020. No one is free from sin in this instance. And that is the most harmful thing here. We as individuals need to understand that we should not be picking and choosing what moments of life that we project onto other people despite us not liking those other people or those other groups. If the individual in question does not like pups, there are better ways to go about putting their differences out there than taking a little clip of 30 seconds and posting it out there in hopes of getting pup gear banned from the convention space at the risk of losing the entire convention if the general public portrays furries that way, which, by the way, they did. Post and link to the description below. You can't complain that they took your crap and your tweet and your image stuff out of context and made their own message out of it when you, as the individual who posted this online, did the exact same thing with those two guys as Romps by taking the 30 seconds that you wanted to take and project onto them from the top of the thing. Yes, it looked bad. Yes, they should have done better. And yes, they should have taken it to their room. But it doesn't help when people who critique the media and how they harm the fandom do the same thing to others who are either tertiary within the fandom or props or whatever. We need to be as responsible as we expect the media at large to be. And if we don't, then there could be consequences. And those consequences may not be what we intended. for the best of intentions. So we need to be treating our staff like the men in black. They are the ones that handle the craziness. They are the ones that handle the things that we as attendees really don't want to know about, quite honestly. Like, it's literally like the scene where Kay talks to Jay and says, the reason these people get on with their happy little cons is that they don't know about it. And so if there's something that's personal and could harm the convention and stuff like that, and you think that this person is doing bad behaviors, by all means, record it and use your phone for that power. But the people you should be posting it to is in a private message. Here's what you do. You see that little envelope thing at the bottom corner of the tweet thing? You go to the convention staff's social media page and you follow them and you send them a direct message. Or you send them a tweet that's saying, can you allow me to send you a direct message if they don't allow you to? And then take that tweet and post it to the staff members thing directly and ask them to address the situation. If you want to use social media because you're too lazy to walk down to the security staff desk, then you can at least do that. Because this jackass shouldn't have to be talking about those jackasses, okay? All right? Make my job easier, please. Like, I'm a selfish bastard, all right? What can I say? So anyways, I regret nothing I say, even though this video is probably going to be torn apart, hell and hair and tied. But I think that everybody here was well-meaning. I think the two individuals in question probably were happy and joyous and were romping because they loved the fact that they could express themselves at 4 a.m., but went a little too far and didn't think about the optics of the situation. They got a little too lost into their roles. But they should, you should always keep at least some decency of humanity in you to know about what your positions are going to look like. Remember, not parallel, nuh-uh, perpendicular. All right? And on the other hand, we as furries should not lose our sense of decency when we have the power over somebody else. When we are looking down upon other people having a joyous and grand old time, not really thinking about the sociological consequences of it, and then causing it to blow up by taking a segment of it and putting it on social media. If that works better, if we can understand that and instead use the system better, use the powers that we have in a better and more constructive way to really improve and better our community, and not look for fame and not look for glorification of being a social leader on these issues and publicly being able to call out people and feeling the power and thrill that comes with it, but instead deal with the problems behind closed doors and not find a sense of pride over it, but just do it because it's the right thing to do, I think that will lead to a better future for our community, whether it be furry or whether it be non-furry. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about this topic for the week. Thank you very much for watching. Kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section what you felt about this situation and how you feel about, like, who's to blame? Because that's what the audience is great at doing. What, I just spent a freaking half hour doing that. Shut up. Shut up. Get down. All right. Anyways. Just so you know as well that this is going to be the last recorded episode that is timely. So there's going to be a few episodes that I'm going to be scheduling while I'm away, because I'm going to be moving to the Western New York area. Because I'm moving to the Western New York area, I'm not going to be able to record videos and post them online. So what I'm doing is I'm making a batch of videos that are less timely, and it will be posted on a scheduled rate every Sunday. For about a month, and hopefully by around late May, I should be back in the saddle to start making my own sort of like more timely videos. So behave yourselves while I'm gone. That ain't gonna happen. Anyways, get in the hot out here. Thank you very much for watching as always, and thank you for all the subscribers that have come in so far, and I hope that you have a pleasant week.